but still a lot more to be done. But it's starting to loosen up with that gentle persuasion. All right, let's get to the next one. Drink a little water after each finger.
He's looking going to still
Yeah.
He's canting.
How's it feel? Good. Good. Feel like a nice relaxing massage. You can see right now the range of motion's not that great in this joint. And this one's very limited. Yeah, so that's something I note right away. See, it's just very small movement. I mean, compared to the one I just did. This one I haven't done yet, and it's not. So that's what we're hoping to also improve, and that's going to be done through. Again, it's fresh tension, so we can see we're hitting, we don't want to go above his 10 where he's going to tighten up where it's too much. How's that, about an 8?
Okay.
Yeah. So just hold that, let him breathe into it. So the reason why it's sensitive is because of what I call the charge. Whereas if we come to here, you can see how much deeper I can go and he doesn't react because this one's mostly got rid of a lot of the charge. Whereas we come in here, it's still very charged. See, hardly any. So I let him breathe into that, and his breath is going to get rid of that charge by me bringing awareness to it. And that's what this is all about. So it's not about poking people. And that's what I really need to emphasize with people about with chopstick work. It is not about poking people. It's about bringing awareness to where the person has a charge and then breathing into it and letting it go. And so by bringing awareness, I might change my angle very slightly with the chopstick. It's like I don't know what I would compare it to, but like a kind of thing that pokes like a laser or awareness into that area. And then breathe, and I might move it slightly. So with this finger being so tight, I spend a fair bit of time on this spot and just let him breathe into it. But again, it shouldn't be overwhelming. It should be, I think 8s are good to work at with this to start with. Until through him breathing. That's why we really emphasize what we call the partnership model of medicine. He breathes into it, lets it go. I bring awareness. It's not me doing it. I'm a healing facilitator. So just sometimes easing off the pressure, like now I'm just easing off the pressure just to let him have a breath or two without it being too intense. But I'm keeping my awareness there, so it's still, and then I'm increasing it again. Letting him breathe into it. And then moving it ever so slightly. And coming back. Easing off a bit, because I can see he's sort of tightening up around his eyebrows there. So patience and perseverance, especially with this spot, on a tight digit is important. So don't want to proceed further along while it's so charged. And I can also do this as it eases off. So what I'm doing is just moving it slightly, and you can see the intensity. But some of it comes into my hand, just and back, different angle. Now I'm going to change spots ever so slightly.
Oh.
And easing right off, just to make sure it's not too overwhelming for him.
Oh.
So people really shouldn't practice this unless they have a good understanding and feeling for what I call that electrical charge, because it's not just poking people on a physical level. And if that's what you're doing, it could be dangerous or ineffective.
And if you haven't taken the advanced class.
That's right. Only people that are taking our advanced class should do this. Especially on other people. You're welcome to practice it a bit on yourself. If you're going to do it professionally, you should always take our advanced class. So again, I can feel a lot of it coming into my hand, so I just shake that off. Now I'm going to give him a little rest. Again, we got a little. And notice already, I haven't even touched that joint, but look at the increased range of motion on that joint. That was from uncharging that point without even getting into the joint. And this as well. So I'm quite happy about that. So I'm going to proceed now along this way. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter which direction I go as long as I'm hitting on these bands, micro bands.
A lot of patience on the tip, right?
Exactly. Because people, when they're massaging, they have a tendency to want to move on, gotta get on, gotta get everything done, gotta do this, gotta do that, but without even paying attention to, is what I've been doing effective? And the only way you can know is what you're doing effective on this spot is to have some sort of sensitivity to the electrical charge, whatever we're calling it, right? Like English doesn't have the right words. Otherwise, you're just not gonna understand this point, and then you won't even understand how to release the roots of tension then. And what is tension? Why do people become tight? What is it that's causing this tightness, That's what you really need to think about. And that's why I call it something in the subtle nature of either electricity or gas, like air. You compress air, it becomes like a, tire, pump a tire up, it becomes hard. But, again, I don't know exactly what it is, the substance, but.
So Brandon, it's been about an hour. Did you want them to get started?
No, I think what I want to do is just show you guys
Okay.
to actually do a whole hand and shoulder.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? And then spend the rest of the day practicing. But just to give you an idea of the thoroughness, yeah?
And the time it takes.
And the time it takes. And why I would never book a 1 hour. Like for this kind of stuff, never do 1 hour. 2 hours minimum for especially somebody who can handle it. 1 hour for somebody who's either very toxic, cigarette smokers, where you're worried about how many toxins you're stirring up and they might feel nauseous. But for somebody who's a kind of green light and relatively healthy, especially non-smoker, somebody who eats, fairly natural foods, then, you can continue, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's something that the art form of doing a whole hand is also nice to show you guys, the completeness of it. Even if it might take about 2 hours to do.
And that's pretty good. 2
Oh
hours,
yeah,
right?
if you get a hand done in 2 hours, easier to get a hand done in 2 hours than a foot, but still, sometimes you can get a whole foot done in 2 hours, and then it's amazing to see the whole result coming up through the knee, through the hip, Yeah, so if you can get a whole hand done in 2 hours, then do it. The person will just be amazed, because even though, yes, they whinged and whined throughout the treatment, even if they're a green light, as Gerardo is, what they'll notice is how tight their other hand feels, and they'll just want to come back and get the other one done. So that's why you don't need to worry that the person is kind of lopsided or whatever, because they'll really want the other one done. I've done it where I've massaged one person's foot, or I forgot whether it was a foot or hand, it was years ago, and in a class, and then a few years later, they still felt the difference between the one I did.
Oh, they still.
Because this is if you do this kind of stuff, it's a complete excavation, or it can be, not with everybody, but it can be a complete excavation of the entire lifetime of tension in that limb. And so what's going to happen with the other one, sure, you got like, I don't know how old Gerardo is. How old are you, Gerardo? 41.
46.
Was that?
46.
46. Okay. He aged 5 years during this treatment, you know? So 46. So 46 years of potential tension in this arm. So if I see him again in 2 years, he'll have 2 years of tension in this arm, but 48 years in the other one. And so he'll want that other one done. It's like women having a baby, you know what I mean? Sure, they have the baby, it's all painful and everything, but then they want another one. Pretty arrogant for a man to say that, but you know, just thought I'd see if I brought up anybody's stuff there, you know?
Yeah, he's looking around.
Looking around.
Can I bring it?
Yeah.
Oh, like,
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Depends how traumatic it is, of course, but no. But it's that similar, see, like, you know, like he's not gonna just remember, oh, it really hurt, especially if I don't push him over a 10. If I pushed him over a 10, he'd be like, that was not, you know, I didn't like that. But if I can keep my pressure at 8s and 9s, he's gonna go, yeah, look, it was fucking uncomfortable, but wow, my hand now moves well, you know? It's the same with, you know, I recently had cataract surgery, and the first, you know, having surgery is you know, is traumatic, you know? But then I get to see better with one eye. I'm like, I want the other one done, you know? Time I got one done, the second one was a breeze, you know, because I knew what to expect, and yeah, okay, there's a bit of discomfort and that sort of thing, but I want the other one done.
I have some clients describe the level higher than 10 when the energy is moving through.
Mm-hmm.
They said it wasn't like
Sorry.
a pain 10, it was like a little bit different. And have you had people say that before? Because they were liking it and wanting that, but they said it's definitely higher than a 10. Because I mean, even when you're shaking like my toe like that, it seems higher than a 10 sometimes. But
Where you see a 10, I define as where somebody's going to tighten up against you.
okay, so it's not so much the intensity of the release.
No.
More so.
No, because
Okay.
people can be releasing and not tightening
Yeah.
up. So there's nothing to do with that. That's just all what I call the dramatics of the treatment.
Okay.
You know, some people are going to be dramatic, some people aren't. Some people have physical pain or tension, and just it's not that emotionally dramatic, you know. So no, nothing to do with that. It has to. A 10 is where you're going to go, I cannot take that anymore, and I'm going to pull my hand away, or I'm going to tighten up.
Okay.
Or you could say a 10.1 is that, and a 10 is the whatever. You just have to define it. You know, a 10 might be just I can just handle that if you do any more. But so some people define a 10 as still within their range, and a 10.1 is above their range. And so we got some nice little clicks. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, that was beautiful. And look at the joints now, right? A bit of gentle persuasion and encouragement, and the whole thing's just completely letting go. And as I said, because he is a green light, he's not whinging and whining and going, oh, Brandon, please stop, or whatever, or at least not in English, you know? And not, he might be thinking it, but no, he's not. He appreciates it, you know? So I can just get in there and do what I need to do. And then instead of the limitation being him stopping me or holding me back or making me work slower, it's just what can I do and what can his breath handle? Again, fantastic preventative for arthritis, but all this entire area will benefit from his chest to his jaw and to the side of his head above his ear, which is where a lot of people get headaches, you know? So chronic migraines, jaw clenching at night, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And really, it's like nothing compared to having a baby, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Having a baby's much worse, right? You know?
She did my hands.
See, we're starting to bring up stuff now. Kind of fun to bring up stuff, you know? Yeah, poke.